Hello and welcome, dear students. Today we are going to discuss the key topic, that is general characteristics of cell differentiation. The main objectives of today's lecture are to have general idea about cell types and cell determination, to discuss cell commitment, to get an idea of stages of cell commitment, to have general idea about cell differentiation, to discuss general characteristics of cell differentiation, to get an idea of types of cell differentiation. Dear students, let us first of all discuss about cell types and cell determination. The central problems of developmental biology were stated by embryologists long before the new molecular techniques came into being. A central issue has been the cellular potential of embryonic cells. A fertilized egg is said to be totipotent because it gives rise to a whole organism by division and cell specialization. As development proceeds, the number and kinds of cells that can arise from one parental cell become restricted. Such cells are said to be pluripotent. Finally, cells that are destined to become a single cell type are termed unipotent. One term that is widely used in discussing all of these questions about cellular potential is determination. A cell is said to be determined once it has been instructed or once it has somehow decided for itself to become a specific cell type at some future point. That is, a determined cell and its descendants have acquired the developmental potential but not yet the ability to produce the specialized products or to carry out the specialized function by which it will eventually be recognized. Dear students, moving on to another objective, that is cell commitment. The decision to enter the differentiation pathway is called commitment. During embryogenesis, or exactly at the time of gastrulation, the embryonic cell undergoes differentiation. Initially, it was thought that it's all genetics, but due to development in the molecular techniques, tools in the biochemistry laboratories, and a new subject called epigenetics, which leads to the discovery of the exact mechanism of how cells' fate is determined. The embryo interacting with its environment and its developmental trajectory can be guided by information from its surroundings up to an extent that the environment of an embryonic cell consists of the surrounding tissues within the embryo, and the fate of that cell often depends upon its interactions with other components of its immediate ecosystem. These overt changes in cellular biochemistry and function are preceded by a process involving the commitment of the cell to a certain fate. At this point, even though the cell or tissue does not appear phenotypically different from its uncommitted state, its developmental fate has been restricted. Now, moving on to the next part, that is stages of cell commitment. Commitment can be divided into two stages. The first stage is a labile phase called specification. The fate of a cell or a tissue is said to be specified when it is capable of differentiating autonomously when placed in a neutral environment such as a petri dish or test tube. At this stage, the commitment is still capable of being reversed. The second stage of commitment is determination. A cell or tissue is said to be determined when it is capable of differentiating autonomously even when placed into another region of the embryo. If it is able to differentiate according to its original fate, even under these circumstances, it is assumed that the commitment is irreversible. The decision to enter the differentiation pathway is called commitment. Although there are clear conceptual and chronological differences between commitment and the earlier decisions resulting in determination, there may be no molecular difference between these two types of decisions. Biologists have used many models to study these chains in cell capacity, which is collectively referred to as cellular differentiation. The fate of a cell describes what it will become in the course of normal development. The fate of a particular cell can be discovered by labeling that cell and observing what structures it becomes a part of. When the fate of all cells of an embryo has been discovered, we can build a fate map, which is a diagram of that organism at an early stage of development, that indicates the fate of each cell or region at a later stage of development. The developmental potential or potency of a cell describes the range of different cell types it can become. The zygote and its very early descendants are totipotent. These cells have the potential to develop into a complete organism. Totipotency is common in plants but is uncommon in animals after the 2 to 4 cell stage. As development proceeds, the developmental potential of individual cells decreases until their fate is determined. Dear students, now we will discuss cell differentiation. The differentiation of a determined cell is the process by which genes are selectively expressed and gene products act to produce a cell with a specialized phenotype. By this definition, differentiation is often an end-stage event for cells. For example, mammalian red blood cells are said to be fully differentiated when they have lost their nuclei, at which point, of course, they can no longer grow. All multicellular organisms begin their life cycle as single cells from which their various tissues and organs develop through differentiation. Thus, development consists of formation of different types of tissues, organs, cells, while differentiation denotes a permanent irreversible change in the function of cells, which is often accompanied with change in their structure. In developmental biology, cellular differentiation is the process where a cell changes from one cell type to another. Most commonly, the cell changes to a more specialized type. Differentiation occurs numerous times during the development of a multicellular organism as it changes from a simple zygote to a complex system of tissues and cell types. Differentiation continues in adulthood as adult stem cells divide and create fully differentiated daughter cells during tissue repair and during normal cell turnover. Some differentiation occurs in response to antigen exposure. Differentiation dramatically changes a cell's size, shape, membrane potential, metabolic activity, and responsiveness to signals. These changes are largely due to highly controlled modifications in gene expression and are the study of epigenetics. With a few exceptions, cellular differentiation almost never involves a change in the DNA sequence itself. Thus, different cells can have very different physical characteristics despite having the same genome. The fully developed organism consists of a number of different kinds of cells. About 200 invertebrates produce it in the process known as cytodifferentiation or differentiation. The process of differentiation usually involves tracking changes in cell shape, the appearance of new subcellular organelles, or rearrangement of old ones. Synthesis of specific products in the cytoplasm, example, hemoglobin in red blood cells, and in some cases they are released through the plasma membrane. This process depends upon the execution of particular genetic program, either by activation of some genes and inactivation of others at the level of transcription, by controlling production of the various messenger RNA, or by control of their translation into enzyme and structural proteins. Example, by modification or selection of mRNA, or by controlling ribosomal function in processing mRNA or in releasing polypeptide chains. It is evident that whereas all cells of the mature organism arouse from one fertilized ovum by repeated mitotic divisions and probably inherited the same biochemical capability, they become specialized and different during the course of development by the process of differentiation. Differentiation involves the events by which cells and other parts become different from one another and also different from what they were originally. For example, while the neural plate as a whole is being induced by the roof of the archintron, its cells become different from both the presumptive epidermis and from the parts of the blastoderm which give rise to the neural plate. Thus, during embryogenesis, there arise different organs and system of organs, each made up of tissues in various combinations and arrangements. And each of these tissues comprises certain kinds of cells that are clearly recognizable as different from other kinds. Moreover, besides its basic functions, each kind of cells has its own specialized functions, its biochemical individuality, and its morphogenetic assignment. The specialized function of cells can be distinguished from the basic functions of life, which are common to all living cells. Every cell is capable of performing the process of metabolism and possesses to a certain degree the ability for amoeboid movement, such irritability, and it is able to react to external stimuli. Differentiated cells, however, are able to perform special functions or to perform them in such a manner as other cells cannot. Cell differentiation can also be defined as a process by which stable differences arise between cells. All higher organisms develop from a single cell, the fertilized ovum, which gives rise to the various tissues and organs. In most animal species, females produce large unfertilized eggs that contain most of the materials and nutrients required to form an embryo. Development is triggered by fertilization. The sperm contributes a small condensed nucleus which rapidly enlarges in the egg cytoplasm, fuses with the female pronucleus and finally divides. The fertilized egg then undergoes a series of very rapid cycles consisting of DNA synthesis followed by cell divisions. These divisions are called cleavage because unlike normal cell division, the cytoplasm is partitioned without growth. Then the cells form a hollow sphere, blastula, in which tissues are not yet evident. Some of the cells then invaginates in a series of cell movement known as gastrulation, and the first signs or morphological differentiation appears. These complex chains take place in a comparatively short time. Dear students, now moving on to our main topic, that is general characteristics of differentiation. First and foremost, stability of differentiated state. One of the principal characteristics of cell differentiation in higher cells is that once established, the differentiated state is very stable and can persist throughout many generations. For example, a neuron will persist as such throughout the lifetime of an individual, and a cell committed to become a skin cell will gradually keratinize and eventually die. These persistent chains are very different from the type of regulation involved in enzyme induction and repression in bacteria, which is specially designed to respond rapidly to changes in the environment. Another important characteristic of cell differentiation is that it is induced in the organism by various stimuli. Once it has been established, it can persist even in the absence of the initial stimulus. For example, differentiated cloned cell lines such as steroid-secreting cell lines and neuroblastoma cell lines are able to grow indefinitely in vitro. Without this type of data, it could have been argued that differentiation persists in the organism because the stimulus that has given rise to it also persists. In vitro, although such a stimulus cannot be present, the differentiated state is maintained over many cell generations. Determination precedes morphological differentiation. In many cases, before it is possible to recognize morphologically that a cell has differentiated, there is a period during which the cell is already committed to a particular change. After this determination has been made, the cell will differentiate along a specific pathway, even if several generations intervene before overt morphological differentiation. The best example of determination is provided by the imaginal discs of Drosophila. Imago is an old name for the adult fly, and thus imaginal disc means the discs that give rise to the adult. The discs are a group of cells that are present in the larva in an undifferentiated form, but that upon metamorphosis will give rise to legs, wings, antennae, and so forth. Each disc is predetermined to become a particular type of adult structure. This commitment is very stable and heritable. Discs transplanted into the abdomen of adult flies remain undifferentiated and multiply as solid masses of tissue in the abdominal cavity. Fragments of these transplanted discs can be transplanted serially into adult flies without giving rise to differentiated tissues. The transplanted discs can, however, be stimulated to differentiate by transplantation into a larva that will undergo metamorphosis. Thus, providing the appropriate hormonal conditions for differentiation, discs transplanted serially in the abdomen of adult flies for 9 years were still able, after metamorphosis, to differentiate into structures belonging to the original disk. Further, the ability to perform characteristic or special functions is dependent on the existence of specific mechanism in the differentiated cells. Now, cell differentiation results from stepwise decisions that are genetically controlled. Thomas Hunt Morgan realized that development could not be understood before understanding how genes worked, and so he began studying genes by obtaining and analyzing mutants. He chooses Drosophila because the generation time of this fruit fly is only 14 days. After more than 70 years of research on Drosophila genetics, a number of developmental mutants have been found. The most interesting mutations are those that can, by inactivating a single gene, change one segment of the body into a different one. These are called homeotic mutations. Adult flies have a head, 3 thoracic segments and 8 abdominal segments. Each thoracic segment has a pair of legs, and the second thoracic segment also has a pair of wings. The third thoracic segment does not have wings in flies, but instead a pair of halters, which are small drumstick-shaped stumps used for equilibrium during flight. Presumably, a gene arose during evolution that changed the second pair of wings into halters in Diptera. During early Drosophila development, the cells first become determined to a particular segment, and then the cells in each segment subdivide further. These cellular decisions are controlled by the switching on of single selector genes in group of cells called polyclones, which are determined simultaneously. Segments are divided into anterior and posterior portions or compartments, and subsequently into dorsal and ventral compartments. Using the homeobox as a probe, it has been possible to isolate by nucleic acid hybridization a large number of homeobox containing genes. These genes code for DNA binding proteins, which are involved in controlling the early differentiation of the embryo. Homeobox containing genes have been isolated from vertebrates, and this may provide a key to understanding development. Dear students, now let's have a brief idea about types of differentiation. Differentiation may be broadly classified into 3 types. First one, morphological differentiation. During the course of multiplication, individual cells and groups of cells become structurally different from other cells and group of cells. Morphological differentiation occurs in various ways, that is, cell migration, cell aggregation, localized growth, enlargement, constriction, fusion, splitting, folding, invagination. For example, the notochord is formed by cell migration and aggregation, optic cup by invagination, and metanephric duct is formed as an outgrowth from the hind end of the mesonephric duct. Coming to second type of differentiation, that is physiological or histological differentiation. Histological differentiation is the process as a result of which the parts of the organism acquire the ability to perform their special functions. The special functions of cells in this definition are distinguished from the basic functions of life which are common to all living cells. The ability to perform special functions is dependent on the existence to specific mechanisms in the differentiated cells. These mechanisms are sometimes visible in the form of organoids of the cells, such as myofibrils of muscle cells, cilia of epithelial cells of the trachea, long processes of nerve cells, etc. These morphological properties of the cells are also called differentiations. They are actually the visible expression of the process of differentiation. In other tissues, the differentiation becomes visible not as much as a change in the structure of cells itself, but as a result of the production by the cells of intercellular structures, such as fibers in the connective tissues, matrix of cartilage and bone, cuticle on the outer surface of the skin in invertebrate animals. These extracellular parts are called differentiations in the same sense as the organoids of the cells. The functional mechanism of histologically differentiated cells are cytoplasmic. It's believed that even in the case of fully differentiated cells, the nucleus in all the various tissues of the animal's body have the same chromosomes and genes. In differentiated cells, the mass of cytoplasm increases while the nuclei do not increase or do not increase in the same proportion. The ratio mass of cytoplasm to mass of nucleus increases with differentiation. This ratio gives a rough quantitative estimate of the degree of differentiation. Now coming to the third part, that is chemical differentiation. A vertebrate egg, whatever its class, has a complex chemical composition from the very beginning. The same is often reflected in a measure of pattern and spatial arrangement. As the egg cleaves and progressively becomes converted to blastula, gastrula, and definitive embryo, individual cells and areas of cells become biochemically different from one another. This is known as chemical differentiation. The elaboration and assortment of chemical differences lie at the root of the morphologically and physiological differences that ultimately emerge. In other words, there comes a time when a given region of an egg or embryo takes on those chemical qualities that dictate the course of development to be followed by that region. The process by which the fixity of developmental prospect is acquired is called determination. Differentiation, therefore, might be redefined as the series of events by which materials become chemically determined and then assume distinctive form and function. With this, we come to the end of today's program. Thank you for watching.